Hello, everybody. We're doing something a little bit different tonight. We're doing an audio podcast of Mexican Crossing Lines. Thank you for joining us. This will be airing on KPPP LP 88.1 Fargo Moorhead, adding local color to your airwaves. You can go ahead and share this out. We're doing an audio podcast. We're streaming it on Facebook at 88.1 Fargo Moorhead. We're also streaming it on Duke 1517 on YouTube and a Mexican Crossing Lines on Twitch. You can find us in all those places. You can also find us at kpppfm.com. That's our website where we have all of our shows and all of our background information and all sorts of stuff about our radio station. Also, if you'd like to contribute to our nonprofit organization that runs this station, you can go to kppplp88.1/donate. We're just going to give a little music to wait for people to join in. It's going to be a good day, a historical day. All sorts of stuff going on. We just needed to talk about it.
Tell folks how they can support the work of this station, Duke, and also how they can leave messages and comments.
Yes, if I had the things up, I could read.
Well, I can tell you the phone number for calling is 701-566-0917. If you would like to leave us a message, you can record for up to 3 minutes. You can also email us directly, Cindy at kpppfm.com or Duke at kpppfm.com. You can also tweet us at media_PPP. And if you'd like to make a donation, go to kpppfm.com/donate.
All right. And here we go. Welcome, folks. Thank you for your support. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening.
Welcome everyone to a Mexican Crossing Lines with your host, Cindy Gomez-Schempp.
And Duke Gomez-Schempp.
You're listening to 88.1 FM, KPPPLP Fargo Moorhead, where we are adding local color to your airwaves. And I am very glad to be joining you today, Duke, to talk about what is occurring on this very historic day. Mm-hmm. For many, many reasons. We are making history today. I'm sure that you know that we are on Mars right now. I mean, the United States.
I thought you were talking about that guy who says that there's slaves on Mars. Yes.
Oh, Jerome Corsi? No.
Yeah.
No. I don't believe anything Jerome Corsi says. But I do believe our president, and the president announced that, this historic helicopter liftoff on Mars is a proud moment for the space race, for the advancements of what our space program has been able to do, especially given the fact that we kind of scrapped our space program for a while.
Yeah, it took some privatized investors and doing their own space programs. They couldn't regulate space yet, so... they'd love to regulate space, but these other people have started building their own rockets, building their own space programs, and they figure out a way to collaborate. I'm sure there's a lot of money being exchanged, and that should be all visible that we can see, but, they took on some other people who are doing all the work, and they've joined forces.
Yeah, and on this also historic day, for other reasons, we have now achieved at least partial vaccination, meaning at least one of the shots has gone in 40% of Americans' arms.
40%, huh?
40% of our population is at least partially protected from COVID-19.
That's excellent. Who should do a song talking about my vaccination?
Yeah. It's a very hopeful moment because I think most people are going stir crazy, having been stuck in their homes for as long as we have. But here's the clincher.
Yeah. We
still have people in our society that do not want the vaccine. Mm-hmm. They're not going to get the vaccine. And we're not even talking about a population of people that is hesitant because say, for example, they saw that story about the Johnson and Johnson vaccination pause.
Oh, yeah.
And they got scared and they thought, I don't know if I want to risk getting a vaccine that, is affecting a certain segment of the population, women between the childbearing ages of 17 and whatever it was,
Yeah.
48. Which, of course, if you think about it, is really a minuscule portion of the population. Especially when you think about other things that we do all the time, that women of childbearing years do all the time, which are much more likely to cause blood clots and strokes, such as taking birth control every day, right?
Yep.
Because look at all of the risks involved in women's use of birth control and the use of so many medications, Duke.
Oh, yeah.
That we just take for granted that most people are taking there, that a lot of our population are taking. So for those people out there that do still hold reservations out of some fear that, the vaccine is unsafe, don't forget that it was put through the same rigors of the FDA that any other drug, any other medication would be put through, and that it is just as many other vaccines we have used heretofore in our history.
That's right.
Is safe. It is safe for you to take.
And you know what? COVID's not safe. The people who die from COVID, we need to be done with COVID, and we're not. And one of the things is that there's lots of legislatures are deciding to make it so you can't have a mask mandate, and people are cheering. It's like very, very politicized, this whole virus and the whole vaccine. And I was just looking on Facebook, on social media, and I forget what state, I think North Dakota, but they're all passing these laws that make it so any state agency or any place can't mandate a mask or, the COVID passports, any of that stuff. And I'm like, so they don't want to wear masks because they say they don't work, but then every surgery we're going to see from now on, the surgeons will not wear masks because masks don't work.
That's absurd.
Yeah.
But you know what? We are living in absurd times. If we were able to travel into the future and look back on this moment in history where we have mass shooting after mass shooting after mass shooting after mass shooting, and yet we have these reactionary, theatrical lawmakers worrying about Dr. Seuss, worrying about stopping governors from being able to declare emergencies and declare mask mandates, and it's just stunning. I don't know how people in the future don't look back at this time and think that we were trying to commit mass genocide in this country, that we weren't trying purposely to destroy ourselves. It feels like the kind of spectacles that we see both from our lawmakers and in the public discourse day to day, like the Roman gladiators, they just throw people in so that you can watch people get torn apart by lions or something.
Thumbs up and thumbs down.
Yeah, I mean, it does feel like we live in a society that is very destructive.
Yep.
And racist and violent, and like we have a death wish. We don't wish to exist on this planet anymore. At least that's how people are behaving.
Oh yeah, I can see that.
And there's a lot of division. This is the most extreme division I think we've ever seen in this country. And we're all waiting on pins and needles as the country feels like it is about to explode. We're waiting for the deliberation of the jury in Minneapolis on the Derek Chauvin case.
Yes.
I don't know how long it's going to take. Earlier, you were tricked by someone saying that
wrong words,
the jury was out or done or whatever.
Yeah, I interpreted it wrong. I suppose when the jury's out, it's out of the courtroom. And when the jury's back in, maybe it's the jury's in. It should be. So I misread that. So I thought they were done already, but I thought that's too fast. They just went into deliberations.
Well, it's not unusual for juries to return a verdict quickly, but it does definitely mean something when they return a verdict quickly rather than, after days of deliberating.
Yeah.
So who knows what the outcome is going to be, but even before we know the outcome, there are already speculations about appeals based on the fact, and by the way, this has nothing to do with the Derek Chauvin,
Okay.
witnesses or testimony or prosecution or defense strategies. This has to do with the statements made by Congresswoman Maxine Waters,
Okay.
who apparently was in Minneapolis and spoke and said that if there wasn't a verdict, if America had to go through watching another cop killer, another person that murdered someone and before our very eyes walk free, that there would be more, unrest, that there would be people in the streets, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the judge, when asked for a mistrial, because they did ask for a mistrial based on her words.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it's an irresponsible thing that she did, especially given that she's a lawmaker.
Yeah.
The judge made a very salient point. The judge said that as a lawmaker, as a member of Congress, she should respect the co-equal powers of the judicial branch and the legislative branch, right? And the executive branch, and that she shouldn't have said anything until the verdict was rendered.
Yeah.
Because in some ways she's tainting the verdict, or it could be said by the defense that she was tainting the verdict. They're reading what she said as a threat, right?
Yep.
And of course, Republicans, including insurrection supporter Kevin McCarthy, have all joined in a chorus, a unison. If you want to get Republicans on the same page on
That's right.
something, find a black woman to yell at.
That's right.
Find a black woman that has said something that Republicans want her to shut up about, and you will find common ground immediately. Nothing brings them all to the table collectively like beating up on a black woman. And regardless of what you think about what Maxine Waters did, and I just told you, I think she knows better than to have done that.
Yeah.
She should know better because she's a member of Congress. And also just because she's a black woman commenting on a case that hasn't been determined yet, it was a very irresponsible and dangerous thing because, and this is true, as they requested the mistrial, the defense is going to use this.
Yeah.
They're going to run with it. They're going to make an appeal based on that. And, God help us all if we have to go through this a second time.
Oh, yeah.
Can you just imagine what it would be like for Minneapolis? This city has gone through hell, a literal hell with explosions and fire.
That's right.
In the last year. I
know.
What do you think?
Well, I don't even want to go to Minneapolis because I'm very scared of it. It's like there was the cops just shot a black man in a car on I-35, and that person was shooting a gun out of the windows of a car that he carjacked, and he tried to carjack another car on I-35. I thought, when I go to Iowa next time, I think I'll just go south to Sioux Falls and cut over through Des Moines instead of going through Minneapolis, because it just, the feeling of the unsettledness in that city and the property destruction and the people that go out and protest that are just there for opportunists, that are the faketivists, they're out there to cause trouble. The points aren't being made. It's getting lost in a lot of mayhem, and it makes the communities feel unsafe.
But if you're a Minneapolis resident and you are poor or disadvantaged, you can't just leave.
That's true.
You can't run away. You can't hide.
Yep.
It's an untenable situation that really needs to be addressed. I mean, yeah, we can drive around Minneapolis. We
Yeah.
don't have to deal with Minneapolis,
You have
even
to
though we
walk to the
live in
store, you
Minnesota.
know.
But the truth is, Duke, we should deal with Minneapolis. It's part of our state. We are Minnesotans, after all, right?
Yep.
We should care about what's going on in this neighboring city, and we used to love Minneapolis. I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
that's one of the places where we used to a lot of our romantic dates and the beginning of our relationship
That's right.
happened in Minneapolis. You can't not wish to go back there. I mean, really.
Yeah, but just a reaction. Actually, I've been to Mexico City. I've been to Tijuana. I've been to dangerous places. And we've survived fine because we watch out and we're smart. We're smart when we're out in public. And we do the things we need to do to keep safe. So I'm just really disappointed that it's so volatile that every night something bad could happen. I think I forget the name of the town where they're doing all the demonstrations, but the chief of police is like, okay, we're not gonna shoot any more rubber bullets. We're not gonna do any more tear gas. We're gonna try to deal with this differently. So you have a police chief out there trying to deal with crowds and not get them all riled up, and have confrontations. And it's like, good, that gets us through another night. But this verdict is going, I don't think whatever happens, I don't know. I don't know what happens. If it comes back with, 3 counts, all guilty, what's the crowd going to do? They should celebrate, the mission accomplished. But like you said, what's going to happen afterwards? It's like the verdict is just the beginning.
Well, unfortunately, because of what Maxine Waters said, and because the judge also, made a statement when he denied the mistrial that, you can try and use that on appeal, but I'm not going to give you a mistrial today. And what she said may very well open up an opportunity for a mistrial, and it might lead to Chauvin walking away.
Wow.
Being able to walk away from this, even if there is a guilty verdict, and that would be the most horrible, gut-wrenching, just backfire that I can even imagine. But on top of that, people like Kevin McCarthy and Marjorie Taylor Greene are rushing to call for her to be removed, Maxine Waters to be removed from Congress.
Yeah.
I can't even believe the audacity of Kevin QAnon Kevin McCarthy.
That's right.
Demanding anything. Like, I would be embarrassed to show my face in public ever again after the crap he pulled with his QAnon conspiracy buddies and Stop the Steal buddies on January 6th.
That's
I mean,
right.
he is infamous. He will go down in history as part of that cabal, that treasonous cabal that tried to destroy American democracy. And I don't think he has any right to speak about who should and shouldn't serve in Congress.
Yeah.
Period.
That's right.
I don't want to hear from Kevin.
That's right.
Shut up, Kevin.
That's right. Or Marjorie Taylor Greene. She's another one. She's like, none of her legislation goes anywhere. She just spouts off her platform. And she just likes to do videos. She's not on any committees. She just votes, or she brings stuff up to slow the processes down. She's just a nuisance.
That's what a lot of lawmakers are. I mean, Boehner is doing his new book tour about being the Speaker of the House.
That's right.
And he, he talks a lot of, nonsense about Ted Cruz, who he hates, right?
Mm-hmm.
But he says that too many lawmakers are becoming like Ted Cruz. They don't do anything.
Yeah.
They don't pass any legislation. They're not there to do what Congress members were elected to do, which is pass laws and work for Americans, work for their constituents. They're just there to gum up the works.
That's right. And they're in the House of Representatives, it's more related to people. Where the Senate has, two senators from every state. So it's like, You could be representing, 600,000 people or 6 million people. And the Senate has more weight because every vote, it's only 100, so it's like you have this majority and you need 60% for things. You need a supermajority for other things. And the House is just like this hodgepodge of people, so that you can have 145 representatives say that the election is invalid. And it doesn't mean squat because they're not the majority. So this smaller minority can make a lot of noise and waste a lot of time.
And it's costing them a lot of money.
Oh, yeah.
Because, Republicans and there was like 148 of them that voted not to accept the electoral votes.
Yep.
Even after the insurrection, they still voted that way.
I know.
And there was a backlash in terms of donors to those members. They saw an 80% decline in donations.
Wow.
Unfortunately, the punishment has not lasted as long as the repercussions from what they did. Because many people that had pledged they would not support, especially big corporate donors, that they would not support the members that voted not to count the electoral votes, are starting to donate to them again.
Oh, really?
So, yeah.
Short memory.
And I feel like that's the way that the whole country is going, and I hope that that's not the case because there are real world consequences to allowing this lie and these conspiracy theories to thrive, not the least of which is the mental health damage that it does, the confusion that it causes, the way that it radicalizes people in this country, that it has radicalized people in this country to kidnap their own children, as one QAnon conspiracist did, to threaten to kill their own family members if they are, reported them to the FBI after being part of the insurrection, as another QAnon conspiracy theorist did.
Wow.
Or, as more recently has been noted, a mother killed all 3 of her children, all under the age of 6 years of age, because she was so terrified that this cabal of Hollywood-connected and, politician-connected left-wing sex trafficking pedos would get to her children somehow. This made-up conspiracy theory drove her, among other factors, which include postpartum depression, but it pushed this woman over the edge, and she killed her own children, Duke. I mean, you thought that what you saw on January 6th, the horrific images of Americans with Trump flags and T-shirts that had Auschwitz on them, and the Confederate flag, and beating police officers, and the disgusting images that we saw of members of Congress cowering in fear, wearing, a spacesuit. All of it. You thought that was the worst that could be delivered out of the QAnon conspiracy theorist, but it just goes on.
Yep.
It continues.
The plot thickens, that's for sure.
And it's disgusting, and it's terrifying that we have to continue to live in this state of terrorism, domestic terrorism from these individuals. Another saddening determination, very heart-wrenching determination by a medical examiner from Washington, D.C., in the death of Capitol Police Officer Brian Sicknick. The medical examiner has ruled that Officer Sicknick died of natural causes. Now, I don't know if you know about the different designations, but just without knowing that, what do you think of it?
Well, it's just like that woman who shot the guy with a gun and thought it was a taser. Can't believe it. It's an unbelievable thing. Was the guy, if nothing would have happened on January 6th, would the guy have been at work and just fell over dead that day? It's like, no, no, no. It's just like, that is like, okay, what happened in his body and what stopped first from being beaten and being sprayed with chemicals and all the stuff that was happening. Oh, he didn't die from all the stimulus around him. He died from this physiological thing of his heart stopping. Or was it heart or a stroke? What was it? His heart stopped or?
Acute brainstem and cerebellar infarct.
Okay, so
due to acute basilar artery thrombosis.
Okay, so he wasn't getting blood to his brain. So it's like, I don't believe it for a minute. I think, why are they stirring it up like that? I mean, it's like the motivation is to cause more mayhem and more anger instead of trying to hold people accountable for their crimes.
I'm not sure if that's the motivation, but it's definitely one of the byproducts.
Oh, true.
I mean, how do you think people are going to feel? Even the U.S. Capitol Police Association has said that they accept the findings.
Wow.
That they also said that it doesn't take away from the fact that he died in the line of duty.
Mm-hmm.
But to say, because what they're saying is that the strokes that he suffered, okay, the two different strokes that he suffered just happened to coincide with the moments when he was being, for
assaulted, yeah.
Assaulted. He was assaulted for hours.
Mm-hmm.
What we do know for a fact is that on the last day of this man's life, he spent a substantial portion of that day being beaten and maced and chemical sprayed and assaulted,
mm-hmm.
and his body stressed.
Yeah.
How does that not present a proximate cause to his death?
True.
What do you think about that?
Well, it probably does, and I think that as people get into this medical examiner's report, it's from the one angle physiologically what happened in his body that caused him to die, and it's like the circumstances around him obviously had something to do with it. I'm not a medical, pathologist or any of that stuff, but my common sense would say...
Well, I'm just going to have to stop you and tell you real quick how they determine the cause of death, okay?
Mm-hmm.
The chief medical examiner determining the cause of death, whether it's a medical disease, injury, alcohol, drug, or toxic substance that caused a person's death, the manner of death describes the circumstances around the person's death and falls within one of these categories, okay? Here's the categories. If it's an accident,
mm-hmm.
that is used when there is no evidence of any intent, an unintentional, sudden, and unexpected death, okay? Person just drops dead.
Yeah, just keel over.
There's nothing, there's no intent, there's nothing that happens that could have caused it, right? It's just accidental.
Yeah.
A homicide is when death results from the intentional harm of one person
mm-hmm.
by another, including actions of grossly reckless behavior. So it doesn't have to mean like you wanted to kill someone. If you were just being reckless and you caused the death of another person, you could be charged with homicide.
Okay.
Okay, that would be a homicide. Natural death occurs when a disease alone has caused the death. If death is hastened by an injury, then the manner of death is not considered natural. And suicide is a death resulting from the purposeful attempt to end one's own life.
Yeah.
An undetermined death is used when there is insufficient information to assign another one of these designations.
Okay.
I would have expected if the time, and I don't know if, saying that somebody died because of a homicide, you have to have they have to die within a certain amount of time.
Okay.
Related to whatever harmful actions may have hastened that death.
Mm-hmm.
But we know that, at least we know that all of the things that happened to Sicknick on January 6th were within a 12-hour period of his death.
Yep.
I mean, he died within 24 hours of that.
Mm-hmm.
And at least you would expect them to say it was undetermined, because they couldn't say for sure that it hastened his death, but you couldn't say that it didn't hasten his death either.
Yeah. So if he would have went to work that day and there weren't people storming the Capitol, he would have just felt sick, felt ill, went home and died.
That's what they're saying.
And if we believe that, then he just had a really bad day at the office, and he had to fight off people, and it was really strenuous, but had nothing. He was going to die anyway, so he just he fought till his death, but they're not responsible for it because he was going to die that day anyways. That's what they're saying.
That's awful. It's
Yep.
awful. It breaks my heart for his family.
Yeah.
It breaks my heart for justice, in injustice after injustice. But let me tell you, where the pendulum of sweet lady justice is swinging in the other direction.
Oh, yeah.
Let's cleanse our palate from all of that awful. By the way, one more thing. No matter what the verdict is in the Derek Chauvin hearing, President Biden is going to make a statement. He's going to address the sense of injustice that black people and that people in America feel after seeing so many officers, kill black people in this country.
That's right.
And go unpunished. So that's an important upcoming speech that we will be looking forward to.
Definitely.
But you should know that there is also a lot of historical stuff happening with regard to the people involved in the insurrection. First of all, the Department of Justice is going after Roger Stone and Steve Bannon's personal effects.
Really?
Yes, they are serving warrants and receiving material information.
Wow.
But both Roger Stone and Steve Bannon are having a sad today. In addition to this, and Roger Stone is probably hiding under a rock because no Trump pardon is going to cover
That's right.
what is coming for him now.
Because it's later stuff. It's not the stuff he's been pardoned for.
I don't even remember if Steve Bannon got a pardon. Did he get a pardon?
I
think he
don't
did.
remember.
I think he did.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it was last minute, oh, we're going to give Steve Bannon one too.
That's right.
I don't know, if he just hadn't kissed enough butt by that time, but I think he got one at the very end.
Yeah.
Anywho, none of that is going to protect them from the Department of Justice currently investigating right now. And a federal judge has today revoked the bail of Proud Boy leaders Ethan Nordine and Joe Biggs.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
And this is huge because it was hard to believe how frequently they're assigning bail to people, even charged with conspiracy, even charged with weapons charges. And bail is meant to keep people from sitting in jail, especially during a pandemic. So, especially with the electronic monitoring that we have available now, GPS monitoring, people can be out on bail and still be confined to house arrest and
That's
still
right.
be confined to following certain rules. Not that stops insurrectionists from being stupid, because as we just learned earlier in this week, Pink Hat Lady, or Megaphone Lady as she was known,
Yep.
got in big trouble for not wearing her mask.
Oh.
Do you remember that story?
Yeah, I vaguely remember that it was with the courts, and she, disobeyed the rules. Yeah.
Yeah. And what happened was that as a condition of her release, she was supposed to not, when you are out on bail, your conditional release is, your lawyer promising the court on your behalf that you are not dangerous, that you can be out in public and that you will not pose a direct threat to anyone.
That's right.
And that you're not going to commit any other new crimes while out on bail. And that you're going to follow specific terms of your release, including where you can be, what you can do, right?
Yep.
You may not have to, not be allowed to leave your home. You may not be allowed to leave the town or the county or whatever. If you violate those conditions by criming, being a threat to the public, or violating the terms of your release, you go back to jail. And then you have to stay there until your trial.
Which can be a long time.
And Pink Hat Lady said, I'm going to violate the terms and conditions of my release, one of which was wearing a mask.
Did they throw her back in jail?
She is set to be hauled in to explain why she did that and why she shouldn't be thrown back in jail.
Okay.
So the fact that Joe Biggs and Ethan Nordine, they already went through this whole process with the judge, and the judge was like, nope, you're going back to jail. And this is what the judge said. He said that the defendants are charged with, quote, seeking to steal one of the crowned jewels of our country, in a sense, by interfering with the peaceful transfer of power. So he said, you guys committed the worst thing you can do to a country.
Wow.
You tried to steal our democracy, basically.
Yeah, pretty much.
When they're talking about stop the steal, this is what was really being stolen, our democracy.
Yeah.
And the judge also noted that an unindicted co-conspirator, number one, wrote that participants shouldn't be typing plans to commit felonies into their phones. So after the arrest of Terrio, the Proud Boy leader, but before January 6th insurrection, in a Telegram group chat with others of their groups of Proud Boys, one of the unindicted co-conspirators, besides Joe Biggs and Ethan Nordine, messaged everybody in the group and said, hey, don't be talking about the crimes you're going to commit in here, okay? Because that could be bad for us later.
Stupid criminal tricks, yes.
Not as stupid as allegedly paying women, young girls, not women.
17-year-olds.
17-year-old teenagers on Venmo for sex.
That's right.
It's not as stupid as that. Or maybe it is as stupid.
Yep.
Yeah, it is just as stupid.
Kind of in the same ballpark.
It kind of is in the same ballpark. Now, why is this relevant or important? Well, in conjunction with this other stuff that happened today, that we've discovered recently, it's a big deal, okay? Because today, one of the Oath Keepers, not just any Oath Keeper, the founder of the Oath Keepers. Remember the guy that was in some kind of a heavy metal band that got arrested being in the Capitol riots?
Oh, yeah.
The guy with the beard looks like a Viking or something? That guy. He says, he's a founder. He says, and remember, this is the Oath Keepers who have made public statements, including some of the co-conspirators that have numerous indictments pending against them for being completely dressed in military gear and marching up there in some kind of formation, military formation to storm the Capitol. That group of people, making public statements that they had, recruited members of the Oath Keepers, the Proud Boys, and the 3%ers to storm the Capitol. And that they had recruited and trained members of law enforcement to storm the Capitol. And that they together had conspired to kill members of Congress, right? We know all of these things are documented, but now, in addition to this guy pleading guilty, and you may ask yourself why someone would plead guilty, and the thing is that he's gotten a deal.
Yep.
He's getting a deal that is going to keep the amount of time that he actually serves in prison down to a minimum, or maybe he's getting immunity and he won't have to go to jail at all. He's also to be put into the witness protection program.
Wow.
That's pretty big. That's pretty big, because you know what that means? That means the gloves are off.
Yeah.
That means this guy is going to sing like a bird.
Mm-hmm.
This man is flipped. He's not going to flip. He's not discussing flipping. This isn't a Joel Greenberg situation where, the ex-tax collector from Florida that has, I don't know how many indictments of sex trafficking. And
33, I think.
it's a lot. I mean, that guy is still working out a deal.
Oh, yeah.
He's still working out a deal. And you know what happens in this process? You don't get a deal unless you have something to offer.
That's right.
And the prosecution doesn't go, oh, you got some good stuff? You got some juicy tea to spill on people? Okay, sure, we'll give you an immunity deal. You get a get out of jail free card. No, that's not how it works. The DOJ is going to have you open up the cupboards, open up the drawers, unlock your phone, open up your Rolodex, and give them everything you have. And they're going to check it out first. They're going to verify it. They're going to look at the proof, the evidence. They're going to look at the corroboration that you can provide for the things you say. And then they're going to decide whether or not it's valuable enough to give you immunity or to put you in the witness protection program.
Yeah, got to protect you for something if you get put in that program.
They're not going to do that just for anyone. They're going to do it for something big.
Yeah.
And that is exactly what this is. Something big.
That's right.
Because
it's Joe Biggs.
It's bigger than Joe Biggs.
That's
because
right.
This guy can implicate the Oath Keepers, the Proud Boys, the 3%ers,
Wow.
the people that coordinated them, the people that paid them, the people that directed them, the generals, as it were, that told them what to do, that gave them their marching orders. That would include implicating possibly Roger Stone, Steve Bannon, and the inner sanctum of President Trump and Trump himself.
Wow.
And, by the way, that deal is done. You know what this indicates to Joe Biggs and Ethan Nordine and Roger Stone and Steve Bannon and anyone else that is in the path of what this guy is about to unleash right now? That he's flipped? You better get your own deal quick.
That's right.
Run and get your own deal. Go to the prosecution first and tell them you will flip and you will give them something, because otherwise your time is done.
That's right.
Your time right now to get out of jail, to get away from the blast zone of what this guy is going to unleash, the clock is ticking. And at the end of that time, there are no deals to be given, no deals to be had. And you're going to go to jail, and you're going to rot with the rest of the traitors that stormed our Capitol. So, heads up.
That's right.
That's what's coming down the pike. And that is all I have for you today here on Mexican Crossing Lines with your host, Cindy Gomez-Schempp.
And Duke Gomez-Schempp.
You've been listening to 88.1 FM, KPPPLP Fargo Moorhead, where we are adding local color to your airwaves. Good night. God bless. Get vaxxed.
And wear a mask.
Yeah. Have a great evening.